How many people had no idea that we're going through the Drake Passage for 12 hours? You're all gonna die. I'll be honest. I'm getting off about an hour before. See, no, I'm kidding. No. Why did the captain do the watertight door test today? Because he wants you to get to the end of the cruise so you pay your bill. You're going to be observing a series of special checks, watertight door checks, emergency first aid response, that sort of stuff. Because at Princess Cruises we do take safety very seriously, and also we are going through and I say this not hyperbolically, the most dangerous piece of water on the planet. Yay! One person's like, yay! Yeah. The second most dangerous would be the Sea of Tasman, the Tasman Sea, between the land of the Kiwis and the land of the Aussies. And then the third is going around the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa. Do we have anybody from Johannesburg? Yeah, because they never made it around the Cape, the ship saying. The fourth is a Canadian piece of water between, Hecate Strait, between Vancouver Island and the Kiwi. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? So, there's a lot of you here today. You know that I'm not giving away champagne, right? I apologize for fitting 400 bums in a spot that takes 250. I'm glad that you're enthusiastic. Some of you are fearful. It turns out that when you put the Drake Passage as the topic of your show, on a day where the ship is moving with vigor, people want to learn about it. How many people here, and be honest, are a little bit worried about the Drake Passage? How many people had no idea that we're going through the Drake Passage for 12 hours? You're all gonna die. I'll be honest. I'm getting off about an hour before. See, no, I'm kidding. No. Why did the captain do the watertight door test today? Because he wants you to get to the end of the cruise so you pay your bill. You're going to be observing a series of special checks, watertight door checks, emergency first aid response, that sort of stuff. Because at Princess Cruises we do take safety very seriously, and also we are going through and I say this not hyperbolically, the most dangerous piece of water on the planet. Yay! One person's like, yay! Yeah. The second most dangerous would be the Sea of Tasman, the Tasman Sea, between the land of the Kiwis and the land of the Aussies. And then the third is going around the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa. Do we have anybody from Johannesburg? Yeah, because they never made it around the Cape, the ship saying. The fourth is a Canadian piece of water between, Hecate Strait, between Vancouver Island and the mainland. It's skinny, it's fast, and it's angry. Yeah. Unlike most Toronto Maple Leaf players. They're not. Go Flames, go. Do we have any Canadians in the audience? Oh, right. Right, that's awesome. I would have thought that you'd all be sunburned by now. Yeah. So, for those that haven't been to my show, my name is Robert Raincock. I am your ship's naturalist, and it's my job to get you excited, to go outside and experience all of the wonderful things that we see around us, like the unbelievably beautiful fjords of yesterday. Wow, I felt like I was in Alaska or Greenland. And you're welcome. I planted all those trees, by the way. That was all my doing. What I'm not here to do is to sell you something or convince you of, some political standing. So for those that haven't been to my shows before, I try to do this in a bit of an entertaining, humorous, lighthearted way. If you're expecting a stodgy professor who stands behind the podium and drones on about an adventure he had or she had in 1971, I'm not that guy. I wasn't alive in 1971. I was still grapes on a vine, yet to be made into a bottle of wine that my father would give my mother, and then I showed up 9 months later. In fact, that's a funny story. Under the file of things you never tell your children, I know, perhaps not the finer details, but I know the general circumstance of how I was conceived. I'm a St. Helens baby. So Mount St. Helens went off. Boom, hooray, Seattle dusting. It was awful, right? And it caused a whole bunch of atmospheric dust to go up there, causing beautiful sunsets all of that year, all of the next year. And on a nice afternoon in 1981, my mom, who was a nurse, and my dad, who was a paramedic, were sitting at a smoke pit. They were both smoking. It was the 80s, everybody smoked. Looking at the sunset. And my dad notices the cute nurse and says, "Oh, hello, how are you?" And she ignored him. The next smoke break. They're there again. "Oh, hello, how are you?" My mother ignored him a second time. The third time rolls around, and she says, "Look, what do you want?" "Well, would you like to go for dinner?" Okay, went for dinner, and 9.5 months later I showed up. I mean, I was invited to the wedding. So I'm a St. Helens baby. I was originally born in Calgary, Alberta, and grew up in Red Deer, Alberta, the Paris of the Prairies. I went to school up in Edmonton at the University of Alberta. I'm currently going to school in Victoria. If you ever wonder where I'm at in the middle of the day, I'm writing essays to Royal Roads University. I do not recommend doing your master's while working full-time. It sucks. I was chewed out by my principal yesterday. I had a 90-minute conversation with her. Hillary's her name. Lovely lady, very, very intelligent, top of her game, multiple PhD. Because I haven't been showing up to class because they do it all over Zoom. And I don't know if you've noticed, but the internet on board is a little bit dodgy. And so I do the robot dance where every 3 seconds my slide updates. So I usually just skip class and get the notes afterwards. And that is not to be done. So I did one of those mea culpa kind of things. Anyway, so today's topic is going to be the Drake Passage. I'm going to go over a bit of the history of the Drake Passage, the physical mechanics of the Drake Passage, and I'm going to leave time at the end for questions. One of the feedback pieces I'm getting from my shows from this cruise and from last cruise is that I talk, and then I disappear. They have free food upstairs. You know that, right? That's usually where I'm going. So we're going to do I'm going to experiment and do a little quick question-answer period. So stick around at the end. Answer your phone. Where are you? How do you have phone signal here? That's impressive. If you'd like to get a hold of me, if you'd like to have me identify a creature, a bird, say, in your photos, send me an email. My email is raincock@ualberta.ca. The Raincock is my last name. It's an old English-Scottish last name. The rain meant, in our family, we had a castle that was safe for the royal family to stay at, which is a good thing and a bad thing, depends on what side of Hadian's Wall you're on. And the cock meant first son of the first son. There are other members of my family that are Rains, Rainford, Rainborough, that kind of stuff. It's not my fault. My dad gave it to me. I was too young to complain. And I used to go to University of Alberta. If you're interested in Instagram, I'm sharing videos and photos all the time. The Ship Naturalist. If you go into YouTube, The Ship Naturalist, I want you to know that I share all of my photos that I take for free. No sneaky subscription, that kind of stuff. The logistics of me sending, this is 27 terabytes of photos I've taken this year. I can't loan this out to everybody. So what I do is I load it onto Google Drive, and then I give people that email me the access to that. That way I filter out people. I don't want my photos showing up on Etsy, things like that. I share this stuff for free because I'm trying to promote an interest in science. We seem to be in a time, and I'm not a political person, but we seem to be in a time where science is getting political. It's getting weird. And I think the purpose of science is for us to get to know the world, for us to find meaning and an attachment to it, and wonder. I am, I guess, a vicarious student of Carl Sagan in that way. I look up and I see the stars, and I think about how we are made of star stuff. And I think that's profound and wonderful. And I'm one of these, too. I'm a Trekkie little nerd kid. My mom was a Trekkie, too. My mom got to meet Leonard Nimoy. Yeah. And so Leonard Nimoy's passed now. My mom passed. And she said, if you ever go to Leonard Nimoy's grave, leave a little piece of amethyst. She, as a kid, would give me a little rock piece of amethyst and say, these are dilithium crystals. And I'd be holding it watching the Star Trek TV show, TNG, because I, kid of the 80s. And so when I went there, I bought a little piece of amethyst and I put it in his grave. And it was kind of cool. Anyway, I digress. Cruise ducks. If you are not aware of the cruise duck phenomenon, this is the best part of your cruise. I know the red jello is good, but the cruise ducks are the best part. Hiding around this ship are many of us who love to put ducks out for you to find. Think of it as an Easter egg hunt. It's a wonderful way to welcome new cruisers, all this sort of stuff. So I always bring ducks to my show. Now, normally they go to the folks in the front row, but the number of you are actually sitting on the ground, so I'm going to give you ducks because you deserve it. Hang on, here's a duck, 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 here's a duck. Over here, there's people on the ground. There's a duck, there's a duck, there's a duck. There you go, I'll hand it to you. Defensive ducks. All right, oh, there's a duck. All right, for the rest of you, some of the people at the bar, the cheap seats at the bar, right? Look of terror on that lady's face, right? There's some this way, right? You know what I did the other day? I had my medallion in my pocket. I went fling. My medallion, here's one back here. And let's go, there's one there. And only because you're good looking, you get my one penguin. There you go. Yes. Yes. Limited penguins. If you're somebody who has a bunch of ducks you've run on board to hide, know that I love you deeply. If you've never done this, the next time you go on a cruise, give Uncle Bezos $10, order some ducks, and decorate them and spread them around. If you get a chance, there's a lovely lady named Kelly. I call her the queen of the ducks. She has a little scooter with duck stuff, accoutrement on it. She's a duck shirt, big bright smile. If she could have a beak, she would. She is also on board, and give her a chat. She's a lovely, lovely person. Is Kelly in the room? I don't know if she's here today. She's not? Oh, here I am talking nice about her. If you happen to have some adventure photos from the past couple of times we've been ashore, or if you're from other cruises or even land stuff, I'd love to hear about it. I'm trying to create a list of places I must go to in this life. I think most people wait until it's too late to form a bucket list. I'm forming it now, and I hope to start checking off things in my bucket list as soon as possible. Things like in Puerto Montt, there's a little tiny coffee shop that was in a movie I've never heard of, some Chilean movie. And so I'm sitting at the coffee shop, watching the movie on YouTube, sitting on the table that the actors were at. And it was kind of a weird, I would have never known about it, except the last time I was down here, so I mentioned it. Little things like that. Or if you're from Toledo, Ohio, is what I use as an example. The only thing I know about Toledo is that Klinger from MASH is from there. And I hope they have a little plaque for that actor. So, but yeah, I'm happy to sit there, and if you see me around the ship, you folks ostensibly own my time. It is no imposition. If you see me sitting at a table up at the Horizon Court, eating my red Jell-O, don't wait to ask permission. Just sit down. Just start talking to me. As a Canadian, I have noticed something that is incredibly annoying about you American folks. You come up to me and you go, "Excuse me, I just have a quick question." It's never a quick question. But you ask permission. No, I'm on board to be a science geek. I'm a nerd. I want to see your pictures. I want to hear your questions. I want to talk to you. If you've discovered something, if you have something to teach me, this is awesome. It's no imposition. And remember, and I believe this firmly, there are no stupid questions. There's only teachers who are really instructors. And I consider an instructor a bit of a derogatory term. I will be repeating one show this cruise. From our last cruise, I did the Faces in the Clouds show, which went over like gangbusters. It was my most popular show. It's all about things you see in the clouds, both weather patterns, how to name clouds, but things like this. So this is called pareidolia. This is a real cloud. It happened in the 90s. I want to say Spain. I've seen it from a couple different angles. Kind of Winnie the Pooh. What's funny about this phenomenon is that we don't always see the same thing. For instance, if you are a lady, odds are you see a masculine face. If you're a fella, odds are you see a feminine face. If you're under 40, odds are you see somebody in their 60s. If you're in your 60s, odds are you see somebody in their 40s. It's a funny thing how that works. Here, we have maybe a bird or a dragon or a Pokemon. How about here? What do you see? It's a reason to get a holy hand grenade. If you get that joke, you're my kind of python. So where are we? We're right there. We started, I guess, kind of up here. We've come down, we ducked in, and then we ducked in again, and now we're coming down here. Our destination tomorrow, at an ungodly early time, is the Amalia Glacier. You think it's bad that you have to be up for 7 o'clock to see the glacier? I have to be up at 5:45 to go through the process of getting ready to go up on the bridge. Hutch and I are going to be getting ready to do a narration. Now, for a lot of you who've never heard this sort of from a naturalist and from a historian, but we go up on the bridge, and Hutch has a series of pre-prepared historical stories, anecdotes he'll be saying. I'm looking out for critters on the fly. Then when we get to the Amalia Glacier, I'm going to be telling you about it. If I happen to see the process that's calving, that kind of stuff, it's going to be great. 7 o'clock is when it starts. If you're on the port side, you're going to have a great view. If you're on the starboard side, you're going to have a great view. Our captain is going to go up to the glacier, stop the ship, and spin and do circles. If you have an inside cabin, I hope there's room under your door frame, because you're going to have to look really low to see. So if you have an obscured view, or if, I don't know, your husband is standing in the way, I'd recommend deck 16. So go up to the top decks, or deck 15 midship, or the back of deck 14, even to go down to deck 7 here, forward to the nose of the ship. Great views. If you can see outside, you'll see it. And we'll be there for about an hour. If you've ever been on the Alaska run, when we go to Glacier Bay, it's very much like Glacier Bay, but, you know, one big glacier. And what's neat about this glacier is that it's the crown jewel of Bernardo Higgins National Park. It is one of the only glaciers in the entire world that has pink sediment coming off of it. So if you've been up to Alaska, they have that bluish gray sediment, kind of teal almost. This is grayish pink. It's a ground up rock called rhyolite. It's an acidic, oxidized, broken down version of a feldspar and quartz. Long story short, it's pink. It's kind of neat. If it is raining, the glacier viewing is better. We do not want it to be a bright blue, as the great naturalist Mark Harris would say, a bluebird day. We want to have some cloud cover so that the surface of the ice is wet. If the surface of the ice is wet, it transmits light through it deeper, which means it becomes sapphire blue. If I'm on the Ruby Princess, I call it ruby blue. But sapphire blue, it is a type of blue that oftentimes when you photograph it doesn't show up well, because the cameras have a hard time capturing it, because actually what happens is that it twinkles ever so slightly, and our eyes pick it up, because our eyes are seeing in video, and our photos are just a snapshot. It's going to be great tomorrow. If you are not a morning person, they sell coffee downstairs. It is well worth getting up for. We're going to be experiencing a little bit of rough weather today. You've already seen a little bit of it. We're kind of on the outside here, and we're experiencing the Pacific rollers. A storm is catching up with us. So this storm is not going to be bad because of the wind. It's not going to be bad because of the rain. It's not going to be bad because of the waves. It'll be the rollers. So how it works on cruise ships is that if you have tall waves, let's say we have 100-foot waves, monster waves, and they're close together, our ship will sail over top of them smoothly. When the waves are spread out, a 5-foot wave that's a roller, we go up the wave and down the wave and up the wave, and you've been feeling this. The waves we're experiencing right now are about 8 feet, and they move this ship like we're made of paper. Who here, let's be honest, who here is a little bit seasick? Okay, who here just has discovered that the drink package gets you well into the rum zone? Okay, one thing I would recommend is if you're standing still, don't stand flat-footed. Have one foot flat, the other one on your toe. I'll go up here to show you. So, don't stand flat-footed, okay? Have one foot flat, have one toe on the point or the heel. So if the ship goes, bleh, you can catch yourself. It's an old captain's trick. This way, you're not flat-footed, always moving your knees, because I've noticed that some of you are complaining that your knees hurt because you're always doing this. You're doing these micro-adjustments on your knees. You're also eating a bunch of salt, and that doesn't do good for your knees, and you're walking a lot. Who here has noticed that they're dehydrated? They're constantly wanting to drink water. Being on the ocean gets you dehydrated, which sounds counterintuitive, but this isn't fresh water. This is salt water. This draws moisture from you. And again, you know, you're eating restaurant food, and that tends to have a bit more salt, and et cetera, et cetera. So, any questions so far? Okay. So the Drake Dragon. Some of you know this term, some of you don't. Some of you are terrified. Typically, When you go and Google it or go onto YouTube you see, I don't know, who's my favorite YouTuber right now? Tony from the Lita Loca. He's been down here. I love him. Great guy. Great guy. I was interviewed by him about a month ago. He will talk about the Drake Shake and the Drake Lake. The Drake Lake is when the Drake Passage is perfectly smooth, eerily smooth, like glass. If you've never been out at the ocean, where from horizon to horizon, it's glass and there's no wind, it's eerie. You can see every whale, every bird. If a starfish farts, you can see it from a mile away. The Drake Shake is kind of what we've been experiencing today, where the ship is alive, it's moving. At night you'll hear the or those bloody coat hangers. I hate them so much. When I come on board, I have a chunk of a Velcro strap about this long, and the first thing I do, before I unpack my underwear, before I unpack my ducks, I take a strip of that Velcro and I tie all my hangers together, because I hate that tinkle, tinkle. It'll always be when you're in your bed and comfortable and warm, and then tinkle, 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 tinkle. The things I could say that would get me fired about those bloody coat hangers. So, we have an amazing captain and an intrepid crew, which means that you can rely on our captain, Paulo Rivera, to get us through the Drake Passage just fine. This does not mean you'll be able to drink martinis in the middle of the afternoon. If we go and experience the Drake Shake, a lot of times you'll see people staying in their cabins. A lot of times you'll see people sitting down. Look at all the people sitting down right now, right? If we experience the Drake Dragon, however, and we're not likely to experience that. I've crossed the Drake Passage 28 times. I've experienced the Drake Dragon once. It is something that we could do a range of things to. We could limit the amount of bar service, for instance, because glassware, who said, oh, what do you mean they're cutting off the bar? You know it's desperate when the gin goes away, right? We could cut down some of the restaurant offerings. Imagine you're the fry cook in the back and you're on the grease thing and the ship's moving. We could even have it where we have to ask our guests to stay in their cabins, right? That was the Drake Dragon. I had it where, and we were coming from Buenos Aires south. We'd been to Ushuaia. We'd done a little loop around Cape Horn going south. A plastic cup was on my dresser drawer, right? One of these plastic cups you get upstairs in the Lido. It fell off, and it started doing loops over and over again on my carpet. I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw this possessed cup doing this. I've always felt like a bit of an imposter when it comes to being a sailor. I mean, I don't have calluses in my hands from pulling rope. I mean, I don't have stripes on my shoulder. I'm a buffet captain, let's be honest here. But on that day when I woke up and I wasn't seasick in the worst storm I've ever been through, my heart was going like this though, little hummingbird heart. I felt like a real sailor. So regardless of what the Drake Passage holds for us, whether it's the Drake Lake, the Shake, or the Dragon, by the end of it, you will be capital S sailors. And there's traditions entitled to you as somebody who has been on a ship around the Horn. Now, rounding Cape Horn doesn't mean we're going to do donuts around Cape Horn. We might do a lap all the way around the island. It depends what the weather's like. Oftentimes we'll just come up to it, we'll park, we'll show you the statue that's there, and we'll read the poem, and it's a whole thing. I do another bridge narration then, too. So does Hutch. Rounding the Horn means you sail past Cape Horn far enough that you can look at it over your shoulder. That's rounding your view over your shoulder. Okay? So that means you've sailed past it. Going from the west to the east is easy mode, because the winds are coming from the west to the east. If we were in a sail ship, going from west to the east would take about 4 hours. Zip past, you ride the wind. Going from east to the west would take weeks. You do what's called tacking. You go into the wind, you go with the wind. You go into the wind, you go with the wind. It's and you've gone half a mile. So that is the truly tough way to do it. Now, when you go around Cape Horn, you are entitled to have a silver earring, a hoop earring, in whichever side faced the horn. So you go around from the west to the east, there you are, little silver earring on your left side. The sailors that are very much respected had it on this side. The modern version of this now, because not a lot of people wear silver hoop earrings because of safety and whatnot, is a star tattoo. So if you see a sailor in their 50s, that on the back of their earlobe is a red or a blue star, that means they've come around Cape Horn and they take that stuff seriously. We have one fella on board, I know, is hellbent. When we get to Ushuaia, he's going to get, on his left side, a silver earring. Now the whole idea behind the earrings was that if you had something happen to you at sea and somebody found you, passed away, first thing they would do is they'd swipe your credit card and pay for your cruise, and then they would use that silver earring to find out your home port, because oftentimes etched in that earring is your home port. They would use that to pay for safe passage or a burial there. And you see a lot of traditions like that of sailors. They wanted to get home. Right? The idea behind the albatross being this symbol of sailors lost at sea is that the albatross could always find its way home. So we're going to be sailing over the most treacherous waters in the world, where there's the highest concentrations of shipwrecks, even modern shipwrecks. But once again, we are captained by one of Princess's 2 ice captains, and that puts him in the top 50% for ice captains. He's a great guy. I implicitly trust him with my life. Paulo's great. So, big picture and small picture about what is happening. There's a little bit of review from our last show, but I want to get, for the new folks, the idea of the mechanics of the Drake Passage and why this is such a snarky piece of terrain. So you'll notice that the major feature of the South American continent is this stripe of mountains right here. The wind is coming in from the Pacific. It's hitting the Andes Mountains. It either goes north or it goes south. The northern winds kind of peter out, kind of in this area. They get to places like Ecuador and they die out. It's why when we were in Ecuador, we had weirdly warm air all of a sudden, and then it got really cold when we hit the Humboldt Current. Though that goes south oftentimes will dump its rain on the forward leading edge, and then be shunted around. It pressurizes it,